Good evening, everybody. All right, tonight we're going to cover the olivet discourse, which is Christ's pretty much his biggest sermon in the Bible that was recorded. The olivet discourse, which a lot of people don't really know the term. They haven't really heard of it. But the word olivet means place of olives. And the definition for discourse is a written or spoken communication and to speak or write something with authority. So basically, Christ spoke or taught something with authority in a place of olives. Now we know where he did this, which was on the Mount of Olives. And that's where he actually disclosed this. But he didn't do it publicly. This he did privately with his disciples. Because they came to him and saying, Lord, Lord, when will these things be? So let's go ahead and look at it. Now, just for reference, so everybody knows, you can also find the Olivet Discourse in Luke 21 and Mark 13. So it's more than one place in the Bible. At least it occurs more than one place. And they're pretty much the same thing. For our purposes, we're going to focus on Matthew chapter 24. And that's what we're going to go through. 24. We'll spend all night in chapter 24. Well, not all night. We're not going to be here that long. Yeah. That's why I'm starting a little bit early, because I don't know if it's going to be lengthy or we might get through it really quick. We'll see. All right, verses 1 and 2 of Matthew 24. And all my reading will be done out of the New American Standard. Jesus came out of the temple and was going away when his disciples came up to point out the temple building to him. And he said to them, Do you not see all these things? Truly I say to you, not one stone here will be left upon another, which will not be torn down. Okay. This first verse is seemingly innocuous to a lot of people. You know, it seems like it's just very, very plain. It says the temple will be destroyed, right? There actually is a second meaning to this verse, which is he is giving a description of something. Okay? Now, yes, he is talking about the temple, but he's also talking about himself. He is also, because while Christ is in human form, he's in flesh. What's the Bible say about the body? The body is our temple. Do you not see this temple? This temple, this temple. Not one stone will be lifted upon another. It will be torn down. It will be torn down. It will be torn down. That's what happened to his body. Not everybody agrees with that, you know. But if you don't take it, that's fine. It doesn't change anything. If you don't accept that as him also referring to the temple of his own fleshly body, that's fine. This is not doctrine here, okay? At least not that particular bit. But it is kind of another interesting perspective to interpret the same verse. As far as a literal meaning, he's talking about the temple. But it's just kind of another perspective. Verse 3. As he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, there we have for the Olivet, the disciples came to him privately saying, Tell us when these things will happen and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age. So they ask three questions there. When will these things happen? When are you coming? And when is the end of the age? So they basically wanted to know, when's the end of times coming? Flat out, they just wanted to know. They want to know what it is they were looking for, what it is they were going to expect. And he did not answer them directly. Well, he did, but not so much in a way that they would understand. Verse 4 and 5, And Jesus answered and said unto them, See to it that no one misleads you, for many will come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and will mislead you, or will mislead many. So we have the first sign, is that many will come and say, I am the Christ. Who in here has known somebody to make that claim? Did they? He said he was the Messiah? Wow. I didn't know that. That's impressive. Well, if you do a Google search on how many people have claimed to be the Messiah, and I didn't look at the years for all of them because it's a lot of people. I found 48 people have made that claim. And I'd never heard of one of them. Not one have I heard that of the person or that anybody had even made that claim before. So, and a lot of them were leaders of cults and things like that. Now, 48 people, what's the most 48 people could amass as far as followers go? Not that many. Not really. If they could get 1,000 each, but what are the odds they could actually get 1,000 each? Not making that claim, because first off, if you live in a Christian country, you have the Bible, and you know the Messiah's already come and gone, so you know he ain't it. Only somebody looking for a Messiah could fall into that trap, really. Looking for a Savior. So that pretty much takes any Christian out of the equation. But the fact remains that there are 40 people, at least 48 have made that claim. And these are the ones that at least Google knows about. Well, how many could they not know about? Now, Charles Manson? I don't think so. Did he? I don't know if he was on that list or not. I kind of scrolled through them real fast. Just kind of counted. Is more what I was doing, and I'm like, I wasn't actually reading every single name, but none stuck out. Yeah, and see, that's kind of what I would expect for a claim like that. It's like I don't think you'd get many, maybe 100 or 2 at the most, in my mind. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone did have 1,000 or more. It's kind of hard to say. And so we have 48 people known that made that particular claim. Does that mean that those 48 were the 48 Christ was speaking of? Doesn't have to be. He only said it would happen. He didn't say how many. It could have been 2 people, and it would have fulfilled that particular claim that he made. He just said it would happen. And many would be misled. Well, how many is many? Many doesn't have to be half the globe. It doesn't have to be any significant. It could be 1%. It doesn't have to be 1%. It could be 0.1%. It doesn't matter how many there were. It would happen. There would be many. There's going to be more than just a handful. So probably at least 5, 10, 20, 30, many. So we can't really read into too far as to how many is. Some of these things are, they don't really make that much of a difference. If it's many, it's many. We can't get hung up on some little things like that, trying to understand and distinguish how many some things are. If it was important, he'd tell us. All right, verse 6 through 8. You will be hearing of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place. Well, we have a war roughly every 10 years, if you actually look at it historically. Every 10 years, there's a war/conflict somewhere. We have the Iraqi war. Was it a war? No, it was not. I know. I was there. Not a war. We declared war, and then I think it was 3 weeks later, we ended the war. The declaration was made, I think, as a formality. But it's after we were already bombing them, after we were already there. And it's like, okay, well, that was just kind of pointless, and it was ridiculous. So if we have a war conflict every 10 years, and then we have rumors of them all the time. Oh my goodness. Every day there's somebody talking about war between Russia and Persia, Russia and Iran, Israel and everybody around them. I mean, Syria, oh my Lord, it's ridiculous. And that's not new. I mean, we've had conflicts everywhere. Bosnia, Kosovo, Korea, Panama, good Lord. Wars and rumors of wars, that's been happening, I don't even know how long. Then we had the world wars. I mean, good Lord. But he says that don't be frightened. These things must take place. They have to happen. Now, as far as why they have to happen, it's kind of hard to say. He's omniscient. He knows. So he knows they have to happen because he can see them happening. So the only way to avoid them is for him to actually stop it from happening, and he's not doing that, and he's not going to either. Also because he said they must happen, so they have to. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. But all these are merely the beginnings of the birth pangs. Now here in this translation it uses the word pangs. People often, when they quote this verse, they'll say birth pains. Well, they are essentially the same for the most part. For the sake of argument, it's just the contractions. The things that a woman feels whenever she's going to deliver a child, And it kind of uses the famines and earthquakes. Now, depending on who you ask, you have a lot of these doomsday folks, right? And they all say that California, the aquifers are depleted, okay? And California is the state where we get most of our bread across the country. Bread. More bread comes out of California than any other state, and it's shipped across the whole entire United States. I didn't find that out until recently. But the aquifers underneath California are depleting. Farms are in devastation because they have no water. From the mountains and then in the giant pockets of water underneath the land, we call aquifers. And as they deplete, here's the problem. When an aquifer depletes of water, that land above it is just being held together by pressure from the side. But eventually, bottom will fall out. And then what do you do? Which you'd think that'd be weird considering Florida is like right there and it's all swampy. It shouldn't be doing that, but now what's going to happen when you have a really big earthquake in Florida and those aquifers are empty? We could have a huge portion of California could just collapse in on itself. I mean, it's scary as to what the outcome of all the consuming of resources has done to the state and what it could do in the future. So we know there's famines and earthquakes coming, and California's in such bad shape that they're almost nearing famine status as far as the production of the things that they normally produce. You know? Now people are saying, well, that's what, look, Matthew 24, there it is. California's, you know. It doesn't have to be that. It just says these things are going to happen. It could be referring to actual significant famines across the world. That's really what it could be talking about. You know, it's easy for us to take a scripture and try to say, this is me, this is my life, which a lot of the times it really, really is. It can be that. But when it comes to prophecy, anything prophetic, you got to look outside the box. You know, when these famines and these earthquakes happen, I suggest that there will be no question it's the Matthew 24 prophecies. It's going to be, and we're having earthquakes all over the world. We have Thailand, who's just got hit with another tsunami. Japan's been hit with several tsunamis that are now starting to have them. I mean, it's ridiculous. It really is. It really could be a lot of the same things, and I really believe that for the most part it is. But to sit there and actually say that all of these things are, like, whenever it happens to one of us, I wouldn't really take that and say that it's the prophecy, okay? When it happens worldwide, like the earthquakes are starting to happen, that's when you need to stand up and take notice, because these are the things that are leading up to what's coming. So we're still trying to determine, like, when are these things? And he's laying it out. These are the things you're going to look for. Now, I've listened to certain Bible prophecy teachers and evangelists and stuff like that. And there's a word that I used in here a while ago, and it's one that I have heard others use, people who do not listen to me. But we all kind of got the same word, and that word was convergence. You're not looking for one of these events to happen. You're looking for all of them to happen at one time. And that's where we find ourselves. That's how we know the significance of what it is we're seeing. We know we're getting really close to the end because it's a convergence of events. It isn't that just something he said happened. It's that all the things he said will happen are happening together. And that changes things. Convergence is just when you have 10 points and they all come together in the middle. It's a basically, yes. Not so much a chain, because a chain reaction is one affects another. A convergence of events would be when all these different things that have nothing to do with each other all happen simultaneously. It's a convergence of events. All right, verses 9 through 13. Then they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you, and you will be hated by all nations because of my name. At the time many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. Many false prophets will arise and will mislead many, because lawlessness is increased. Most people